Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Trishna and I mainly make content about reading and writing and books in general. Today's video is going to be about the books I plan to read this summer. So my summer reading list that I made back in April. And technically it's already been a month since my summer began because my university ends mid-April and now it's like mid-May. So yeah, it's already been a month and I have read 2 books and a few pages of some other books. But yeah, I've only read 2 books, which I'm kind of disappointed about, but I was traveling and then I was sick, so it's fine. But I do have a lot of plans for the next 2 months, especially with what I want to read. There are so many books that I want to get through because when I'm in university, I don't really get that much time to read books that I just for pleasure, because I have a lot of assigned readings for a lot of my courses. Especially next year, I'm taking a lot of literature courses, so I'm expecting there to be a lot of reading in them. So I don't think I'll get time to read a lot of things that I just want to read. So yeah, I'm planning to get through a lot of them. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, let's get on with what's on my reading list. Okay, so as I said, I completed 2 books. So the first book that I completed was Animal Farm by George Orwell. This was incredible. This was my first classic, and this was, I think, a great entry point for me into classics because it's not really that old. It's 1930s, 40s, which is pretty good, and I love history and political struggles. So it being an allegory for the Russian Revolution was very interesting to me, and the way the animals were characterized. And at first I was talking animals, I'm not very much into that unless it's in cartoons. I love cartoons, but unless it's like that, I wasn't really expecting to like it. But then this was incredible. And the way so basically it's there are these animals on a animal farm, and they decide to have an uprising because they're humans are controlling us, and which is true. And I hate the culture that we have of breeding animals and then non-vegetarianism as a whole. So that's not what this video is about. But so they are humans are controlling us, we need to take control of ourselves. And so they have this uprising where they overthrow the humans in charge of the farm, and they basically take control of the farm, and they start farming themselves, doing all the work themselves, which they were doing. The humans were supervising, right? But yeah, and then so the pigs themselves appoint themselves as a leader kind of a thing. And then they were supposed to lead the farm into this utopian society where the animals have autonomy and they don't really serve anyone else. But what ends up happening is that the pigs themselves also become they become hypocrites, and they start controlling the other animals, becoming these tyrants. And you see that every group of animals, there are these dogs that act as these bodyguards to the pigs. And then there is this one horse who is so trusting of the pigs that they're they can't do anything wrong, and we need to work more. So every group of animals represents a certain group in our society, and I found that really interesting. Also, it's so small and fast paced. I got through this in 2 sittings and I enjoyed it, and it was a really good way to educate myself. And also the satire in this, the allegory, the way it's crafted is so good. So if you're scared of classics like I was and kind of still am, so feel this is a great entry point because it's short, it is not so long ago, it has certain aspects that we have learned about in school, like the Russian Revolution and how society was at that time, for you to touch upon, so it doesn't feel oh, this is ages ago, I don't know what this is. It's not like that, right? So yeah, also it was very interesting. This is about the Russian Revolution, but like I could see aspects of it that are like playing out in real life right now. So that is concerning, but also interesting. So yeah, Animal Farm by George Orwell. I really enjoyed it and would recommend. The next book that I read is On Earth We Are Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vyong, and hands down one of the best books I've ever read. I would like to apologize to the two friends who've been asking me to read this for the longest time, and I haven't. I'm really sorry. You were right. This is amazing, and I should have read it sooner. But yeah, this is great, guys. You guys should read it. So basically, this is a semi-autobiographical book. It is written from Ocean to. It's a letter from Ocean Vyong to his mom. And that was very interesting to me because I've never really read a book like that, like a book that wasn't purposefully a book, I guess. And so he like says you, and it's him referencing his mom because it's a letter to her. And it also feels like you're reading something you shouldn't, like this is something that should be between a son and his mother. But it is like, that is the reason it's so raw and authentic, and it's just incredible. The writing style, I've not read a single of Ocean Vyong's poetries, like poems, but through this book I feel like I've read all of it because the book is so lyrical and so poetic. And after this I cannot wait to read his poetry, because if he can write such lyrical lines in a book, it's like, just imagine the poems. And I've heard incredible things about his poetry as well. So yeah, really excited about that. But yeah, this book, it was amazing. Like each line is so lyrical and poetic, but still so raw. And there were like, so I annotate. So I always have a pen with me. And I didn't really write a lot of things in this book because like just reading it, I had so many things in my mind while reading it that I could not put anything down on paper. Like I wrote very few things, but I underlined so much of this book because every single line is so carefully crafted. Like it's so well written, and like some of the lines just like make you stop and like think about, like just that one line makes you like think about so many things. And there were certain parts of the book where I was just like staring at the page after reading that line. And most of the times I read at night, so like my sister was sitting beside me like most of the time I was reading this book, like in bed, and she would just turn to me and be like, why is your mouth open, like why are you staring at the book like that, that's creepy. And I agree, it was creepy, but I just could not digest some of the things that he said, and I was like, oh my god, this is changing my life. And it did. So yeah, this was amazing. And there's this certain part which is kind of written like poetry, like it's like broken into like 2-3 lines, and it sounds very poetic, and it's like telling these two stories simultaneously. And at first it's confusing, but then at the end it all makes sense why he was referencing this other story while telling you this story. And it's just so mind-blowing. Like there were so many parts I was just in awe of, not just the writing style, but the way the entirety of it was crafted. And yeah, there are certain parts just feel so personal to the author. Like I can read and be like, this was so hard for them to write. But I think it made it easier because like he was writing to his mom, which is just such a like unique relationship. Like the relationship anybody has with their mom is very personal and very unique to those two people. And everybody has different experiences with their mothers. All mothers have different experiences with their children. And so this was just very interesting, and I found it very, yeah, like I cried a lot because who's surprised? And those scenes were just like so like heartwarming but also heartbreaking at the same time, and I don't know how to explain it. He does a very good job at explaining it. So yeah, like please do read this. I feel like everybody should read this. It's just an incredible book. And so basically, we have this course called WOC in my university called Writing and Oral Communication. And I was in a different section, but one of the other sections had like excerpt from the book as one of their reading materials, and they got to read it and then analyze it from that perspective. And I would have killed to do that, because like I feel like analyzing this book in like that writing and that critical thinking perspective, critically analyzing a certain work, I feel like I would enjoy doing that with this book so much. There's just so much you can unpack. So yeah, I'm jealous of my classmates who got to do that. One of my friends who has been recommending the book for the last year, she was in that class and she loved doing that. I feel like I would have too. So yeah, those were the 2 books that I've already read from my summer reading list. The other book that I have read certain amount of pages but have not completed is Norwegian Wood, and I don't think I will complete it anytime soon, because so basically Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami, it's a very famous book. I have been hearing about this for at least the last 5 years. All of his works, Kafka on the Shore, and what is the other one? I forgot. But yeah, I've been at least about Norwegian Wood and Kafka on the Shore. I've been hearing praises about them for the last couple of years, and this was like our book club pick, so I had to read it, but then something happened and the meeting never ended up happening. So I don't have a deadline right now is what I'm trying to say. So I'm probably going to keep it aside for a while, because one of my friends said if you're starting Murakami, start with Kafka on the Shore, because it's easier to get through. Because Norwegian Wood took me a while, like even the first 40 pages, which is what I've read, took me a good while to get through, and I don't know what it is. I feel like it's like set in the past and I just cannot connect with the main character. So yeah, I'll probably read Kafka and then get to Norwegian Wood, but I definitely do want to complete it before I go back to uni, because we might have the meeting then, so need to be ready. So yeah, those 3 books is what I have ventured into so far. Okay, so now going to the books that I want to read this summer. I have a list which is quite long for me. Like in the next 2.5 months, I need to complete all of this. Not need to, I want to. There is no need. I just have. Yeah, I need to, but like I just want to. Yeah, that did not make sense. But the first book that I want to start, I will probably start soon, is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I spoke about this in a previous video. So basically in our last trimester, we had a course called Literary Movements, and in that we focused on the English Romantic movement. English Romantic movement, and in that we had Cenci by Percy Bysshe Shelley, and it was an incredible play. But the foreword for the play was written by his wife, Mary Shelley, and the foreword was so well written. I loved it. But yeah, and she writes so well, so I was like, I need Frankenstein, because I'd heard about Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster, and I know like the premise of the story, but I've not watched any of the adaptations. I think like this is good, like I can read and then watch, which I love doing. So yeah, I'm very excited for this. Also, this is like the cover by so like we have this bookstore in India called Crosswords, and Penguin Publishing does like special covers for Crossword, kind of. So like this is one of them, and then I showed you the Animal Farm. So like these are covers you'll only find in Crossword, and which was very interesting to me. But yeah, Frankenstein is the first book that I really want to read. I'm very excited about it. And yeah, also there's a Gothic novel which I really want to get into, like Gothic literature, especially Edgar Allan Poe and his short stories, because I did read one of them and then I watched its adaptation and it was incredible. And I've read a couple of his poems after that because his poems were referenced in the show. So yeah, I really want to get into the Gothic literature. So yeah, Frankenstein. The next book that I want to read, which has been on my list for the last 2 years and has been on my bookshelf for I think the last year, is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. This was actually recommended by, I think, Jack Edwards. And this is like about Shakespeare's wife and child, if I'm not wrong. And it's like, so Hamnet, like Hamlet. Yeah, and I don't think they mention Shakespeare by name in the book, but it is about it. If you're not heard, I'll just read the synopsis because I think it's interesting. On a summer's day in 1596, a young girl in Stratford-upon-Avon takes to her bed with a sudden fever. Her twin brother, Hamnet, searches everywhere for help. Why is nobody at home? Their mother, Agnes, is over a mile away in the garden where she grows medicinal herbs. Their father is working in London. So I think it's always, like Shakespeare is always referenced to as their father or Agnes's husband, but like never by name, like at least from what I've heard. Neither parent knows that Hamnet will not survive the week. Hamnet is a novel inspired by the son of a famous playwright, a boy whose life has been all but forgotten, but whose name was given to one of the most celebrated plays ever written. So yeah, really excited for this. I've heard great things. Also, it was the Women's Prize winner in 2020. Yeah, Women's Prize for Fiction 2020 winner. So heard great things, very excited for this, and I'm pretty sure I'll really enjoy it because I love knowing people and their story, which sounds creepy, but yeah. The next book on the list is Metamorphoses by Franz Kafka. So I had heard about this book, but I didn't have an interest in reading it. Technically, I didn't have an interest in reading any of the classics until last year, so makes sense. But I now want to read Metamorphoses because a few months ago during our pick for that month's book club, Metamorphoses was one of the options suggested by one of my co-representatives, and she was like, that's a good book and we should add it. And so we added it, and then I had to read up on it, like what the blurb is of the book, to write like a 1-2 lines about it so that people could make informed choices. So when I was reading up on that, like I found out what the story is, and I was like, this is interesting. And yeah, now I want to read it. And it's also really short. I think it's like 130 pages, or maybe a little longer, but like under 200. And I've realized I love short books. So I've spoken about how I hate thick books, like I'm terrified of thick books. Small books I am in love with, especially after Animal Farm that I got through in 2 days. Beautiful. So yeah, Metamorphoses by Franz Kafka. The next book is The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. If you don't know, I am a huge sucker for YA murder mysteries and the biggest fan of Holly Jackson, who has written A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which is being made into a show which is coming out in a few months, and I'm so excited. I'm genuinely, it's coming out in July. So like when the trailer dropped, I was like, birthday gift. But yeah, this is her new book. And I want to read it so bad. I have had it for the last month. Like I pre-ordered it, so it came like 2 days after it was released. And I am dying to read it. But the thing is, my friend and I decided we would buddy read it. But she has been busy. So we have not yet started. And I am a little bit pissed. But also, I really do want to buddy read it because I introduced Good Girl's Guide to Murder to her, and then her and one of my other friends who also read it with her, both of them attacked me right after they completed the third book, and they were like, why would you do that to us? It's a heartbreaking ending, guys, okay? And like the third book is just sad. But yeah, so I really want to read this and see her reactions to this, because I feel like this will also be very sad, because like Holly Jackson does an amazing work of mixing mystery with like family drama and like love, and I think this will have that too, at least from what like the blurb and all that I have read. And I'm very excited. I love mysteries and I can get through them very quickly. So like that's one of the reasons I think I love them, because I get through them quickly, which does not happen with other genres, unfortunately. So yeah, The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. The next book on my list is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. This actually, even though it's considered a classic, has been on my list, like TBR, for the last few years, because I don't know, I just like when I heard of it and what like the message that it wants to convey. Also, I really love female authors, and I think one of the reasons I don't like classics is because there are so many male authors. Yeah. But yeah, Margaret Atwood. I'm really excited. One of my friends loves this book. And when I told her I really want to read it, she was like, you really should. It's really good. So I'm very excited for this. Would you guys like me to read the back if you have not heard of it? Because like, I don't know what to do when I'm telling people books from my TBR because I don't know anything about them. So what do I talk about? So I'm just going to read the blurb. The Republic of Gilead offers Offred only one option: to breed. If she deviates, she will, like all dissenters, be hanged at the wall or sent out to die slowly of radiation sickness. But even a repressive state cannot obliterate desire, neither Offred's nor that of the two men on whom her future hangs. See, that's what I like to read, like feminist literature. Yes. Also, when I read the first line, do you guys know the recent speech given by that Chiefs, the Kansas Chiefs player, the football player in America? I forgot his name because I was watching a reel and somebody called him butt licker, but it's Bucket or something, like his last name. And that speech made me so angry, but it also made me laugh so much because how insanely stupid can a person be? It was just so misogynistic, and I'm like, you're in the 21st century. Like, do you realize that? Like, what the fuck are you saying? But yeah, that was an interesting part of my week because I spent a lot of time watching that and then watching the reels of women just like shitting on him, which was amazing. So yeah, one of the best parts and the worst parts of my week. Thank you, Mr. Buttlicker. I don't know. Is it Bucket? I think it's Bucket, but that's not any better either. But yeah, that. The next book is Babel by R.F. Kuang. And I realized that I just shit on thick books and then now I'm holding up a thick book. But the thing is, I feel like I will really, really enjoy this. So I'm going to try to get through it. Also, I've heard such incredible things about R.F. Kuang, like just amazing things. I've also, I think her fantasy trilogy, I don't remember the name, but those 3 books have been on my TBR for the longest time. But I feel like I'm moving away from my fantasy phase, so I don't know what to do anymore. But yeah, this I will read because it is about literature and about things, and it has historic perspective, and I love that. Like, I love history, not in the school history subject vibes because I hated that. I took that in 11th and 12th, and honestly the worst decision of my life because it brought my percentage down, my total percentage down, but it's fine. I got into a good university. That's all that matters. But yeah, so the blurb. The City of Dreaming Spires. Okay, this is in Oxford, 1836. The City of Dreaming Spires. It is the center of all knowledge and progress in the world. And at its heart is Babel, Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institute of Translation. The tower from which all the power of the empire flows. Orphaned in Canton and brought to England by a mysterious guardian, Robin Swift thought Babel a paradise until it became a prison. But can a student stand against an empire? Also, the line on the top is an act of translation is always an act of betrayal. And I watched a interview by R.F. Kuang where she's talking about how translations are always an act of betrayal because like no word, no sentence can like be perfectly translated, and there's always going to be something lost when you're translating something. But also, by translating a certain work, you do reach a wider audience, which should be the end goal of writing anything, to reach a wider audience and to at least like writing anything that you want to and wish to bring change to the world. So like, but at the same time you're losing a lot of it in that process. And that was like a very interesting interview, and that's, I think, one of the reasons I wanted to pick up Babel. So yeah, I'm very excited for this. Scared a little bit, but also this floppy. This is so much fun. But yeah, also the cover is so pretty. Like, that's just so beautiful. I love it. I love beautiful covers. The next book that's on the list is Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift. This is another one of those crossword penguin covers, and it's just so cute. The colors are so cute. But yeah, the story behind why I want to read this, it's not a story, it's just an explanation, is so basically next trimester we have a course on Jonathan Swift by one of these professors that we really like. And one of my friends and I, we were talking and we were like, wouldn't it be nice if we read it before the course? And that just reminded me of how I used to hate these people in class who used to do reading prior to the class and come and then answer all the questions even before the teacher asked them. Unfortunately, I have become that person, and I will read this before the trimester. It's not even to show off or anything. I feel like if this is prescribed to be read, which it will be, like Gulliver's Travels is one of Jonathan Swift's most like famous works, so it will be prescribed, and I would much rather have read it now than have to read it during the trimester, because I will have to really like speed through it, which I don't like doing through books. So yeah, I will probably get through it and like make notes so that when the trimester starts I can know everything and the professor will like me. I'm sorry, like academic validation and being liked by professors is one of the main things in my life. Like, that is one of the main things that gives me joy and happiness. So unfortunately, yes, I am that person and I will keep being that person. And yeah, I'm very excited to read Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift. The next book is Pride and Prejudice by the Queen, Jane Austen. So this is like the copy my sister used for her university reading, because she also took literature, so she had to get Pride and Prejudice. This is the book she used, but I have this. Ouch. I scraped my knuckle. But so basically, this is called The Greatest Works of Jane Austen by Fingerprint Publishing, which is, they make such cute hardbound books. But yeah, this has Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, Emma, and Nottingham Abbey. So at least for this summer, I've put Pride and Prejudice and Emma. Like, I really want to read the two of them. Pride and Prejudice because I feel like romance novels started with Pride and Prejudice, and Emma because I've heard it's like one of the funniest books, and I'm really interested in the character Emma. Like, the things I've heard about her are very whimsical, and I feel like I'll really enjoy her character. So yeah, this is fat, but this is pretty. So I'll probably not read Pride and Prejudice from this because I feel like it'll be very hard to read. So I don't know why I bought this, but it looks pretty, and that's all that matters. So yeah, I'll probably read Pride and Prejudice from this. I feel like it'll be easier to annotate as well. But I've not bought Emma yet, so I'll probably read it from that. We'll see. Because I don't think I'll enjoy annotating in that work because it's so fat and the pages are not very thick. So I'm like a little bit scared also. So I don't think I'll enjoy annotating on that. So I'll probably buy another version. But then why did I buy that? And then my mom is going to scold me for wasting money. So we will see. But yeah, really excited for this. Like, everything I've heard about this, I've again not watched the movie, which I don't know why, because I've always been scared of reading classic books, but I like watching them. So I don't know why I've not watched Pride and Prejudice. But you bet after I'm done with this, I'm watching that movie because I've heard incredible things about the movie also. So yeah, Pride and Prejudice and Emma by Jane Austen. The next book on my list is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Again, this is such a famous book. I've heard so much about it, and it's been recommended to me so many times. My sister really wants me to read it. Should I read the back? I feel like you guys would already know this but also if you're like getting into classics like me, probably you don't know. So I will read the back. It's the roaring 20s and New York City is the place to be. Everything can be purchased and everyone can be bought. But can you make money erase your past? It's the roaring 20s and it is the time of overindulgence. As far as the eyes can see and the mind can perceive, there are ostentatious displays of wealth and even more lavish displays of decadency. Unapologetic decadency. But does it ever stop? It's the roaring 20s and the great American dream has been perverted. It no longer stands for anything profound that resonates with people. But does the idealism even attempt to stop the materialism? As more and more people lose themselves to the lure of money, ironically, the only person who remains unaffected is Jay Gatsby, the enigmatic host of the most extravagant parties. In this definitive tale on American culture, Fitzgerald pits a chaste dream against the corrupting influence of wealth and comes up with an epic story that can only be defined as a great American novel. So, yeah, The Great Gatsby. I'm really interested. The next book on the list is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. This is semi-autobiographical again, and I'm scared because one of my friends read this and that woman does not show emotions very easily, and she was like visibly unsettled and shaken after this book. So I don't even want to know what will happen to me, and I'm terrified about that. But yeah, I'll just read the back. In the hauntingly beautiful pages of The Bell Jar, Sylvia Plath takes us on a gripping journey into the fragile psyche of Esther Greenwood. Set against the backdrop of 1950s America, this semi-autobiographical novel explores the stifling expectations placed upon women and the suffocating grasp of societal norms. As Esther grapples with her ambitions, desires, and mental health, she finds herself trapped in a metaphorical bell jar, an oppressive glass enclosure that isolates her from the world. Feminism and mental health in the same book. Yes, please, yes. I think I'm going to like the message and the things that are discussed, but I'm going to be terrified of the story and scared and probably going to be very sad reading this. But I've not read it yet, so I don't know why I'm thinking about that. But yeah, that was my primary reading list. Like, if I get through these books, I'm going to be the happiest person on earth. But I did have a few more books that I added just for the funsies. Like, I'm pretty sure I won't get to them, but if at all I'm not in the mood to read any of these books, then maybe I can pick up one of these, or if by some thing I'm done with all of these, then I'll get to these. So yeah, the books that I want to read aside from these that maybe I'll get to are Iliad and Odyssey by Homer. Technically not by Homer because I cannot read Latin, I think, in which he wrote, but it is translated. And again, this like brings us back to Babel and like how every translation loses something. So whatever, that's not the point. The point is I've read about the books and whatever happens in the books, because that's like primarily where Greek mythology comes from in today's world. But I have not read his works, so like from his perspective, and I feel like I will really like them. So I'm really excited. We'll get to it. I'm a little scared, but we will get to it. The next book that I've put on here is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El Mohtar and Max Gladstone. And I've heard such incredible things about this book, and it's been on my list for at least the last 2 years, and I'm very excited to read it because it is queer and sci-fi and just like really well written. So yeah, I don't have the copies of any of these books because I have put myself on a book buying ban because I've bought a lot of books in the last 2 months, but I've also I feel like not bought enough. So if I go out and end up in a bookstore, I will be coming home with books, these books. The next book is Yellow Phase, again by R.F. Kuang. Again, this is about like the publishing industry and being an Asian in the publishing industry and just like the inner workings of the industry. And I find that very interesting. And like the experience I have had with publishing industry was not great. So this should give me closure. So yeah, that is Yellow Phase by R.F. Kuang. The next is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle 7. And again, heard amazing things about this book, and like it's very much based on friendship and the friendship between these two people. And even though I'm not big on video games, I feel like I like the world building in video games, and it's just very interesting to learn about. So I feel like I'll enjoy the book, and also the cover is really pretty, and I want to own that book, but right now it's costly in India for some reason, so I don't have it, but I will get it from somewhere. The next is Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami, which I already spoke about. So I'll probably get to it because I want to get to Norwegian Wood. I don't know why I put it at the end, but yeah. Then I wrote Restart Our Wives Under the Sea, maybe, question mark. So Our Wives Under the Sea is by Julia Armfield. And I started this book back in 2022, I think. Or even before that, I think 2022, like towards the end of 2022, and I read like I think 100 pages, and then I had exams, and then I just stopped, and I never went back to it because it's so haunting, like it's genuinely so scary, and I was like scared to pick it up after that, but also it's so beautifully written, and I want to read it. And also recently Jack Edwards was talking about another book by Julia Armfield that has just come out or is coming out, and I really want to read that as well. So yeah, I'll probably get through Our Wives Under the Sea. Then we have Complete Songbirds and Snakes, and like with 4 question marks. Where is that book? It's here. Yeah. I've spoken about this and why I stopped reading it. So I got through more than half of it. I was checking yesterday and I got through more than half of it, and then I just stopped because I could not stand Snow and his fucking monologues. Like being in his brain is like being like, I feel claustrophobic being in his brain. It's so, just his thoughts make me so angry, and I didn't feel like reading it after a point. I started reading it because I wanted to watch the movie, which I still haven't, but I'm like, it's just half the book left, so maybe I'll just push through. But also the main reason I stopped reading it was because I've been trying to DNF more. Like, not trying to DNF, but like if I don't like a book, I'm not pushing myself to read it because I don't want to waste time on books that I don't like. So I was like, you know what, I don't like this, so I'm going to DNF it. But every time I look at it, it makes me feel, I won't say shame, but something like that, because I'm like, it's like 100 200 pages more. I can do that in like 2 days. So why am I just not taking it and completing it? At least then I can just watch the movie, because I really want to watch Rachel Zegler. But yeah, I don't know, maybe I'll get to it, maybe I won't. We will see. If I get to it, I will update you guys and tell you if I ended up liking it because of the ending. Because the thing is, I love The Hunger Games and I love the way it's written. Like, Susan Collins is an amazing author. And even in this, the writing is good. It's just Snow's brain. It's just so... And knowing everything it does in Hunger Games is just like, do I need to be reading about this man? So yeah, I don't think I will get to it. But if I do, I will let you guys know. And yeah, that is my very long reading list, and hopefully I will get through most of it, if not all, which, if it happens, honestly, I'll be so happy. Today I will, if my friend has finally bought the book and is ready, I'll probably start Reappearance of Rachel Price today. If not, I'll probably start Frankenstein. And yeah, I'll keep you guys updated. This was a very random video. I wasn't going to do it, but then I was like, you know what? Why not? Like, me talking, I like talking, and today I was feeling good. Also, I just realized you guys are seeing this haircut for the first time, and I don't know how I feel about that, because the buzz cut was good. Like, I enjoyed my buzz cut. I loved like those few months where the buzz cut looked so good, but like this length is just weird, and I don't know if I like it and if I want to let people see it. But like, now you're seeing it, so yeah, this is my hair. Anyways, that was today's video, and if you enjoy, please do like the video. And if you want to see more videos of me talking and blabbering and just talking about books that I've read and I'm planning to read, and some like random shows that I reference sometimes, then please do subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.